It looks like we are ending the week on a very high note, a very powerful week, the best week this year and maybe in a very long time. So Tesla up an unbelievable 17%, the market up dramatically too in this single week. Let's look at this. We are up 6.79% on the Nasdaq. Like, let that sink in. This is very powerful. The Iran war is officially over, more or less. We said that already last week on Friday that, you know, we are through this whole thing and positioned accordingly. On Monday, we went all in and just in time. Very good stuff. And in this video, we are going to cover what happens next. Because after a rally like that, a lot of questions open. Are we now ready to consolidate? Is this all there is? Is Iran coming back? Is Tesla actually continuing to rise? And what about our other key AI plays from MicroStrategy and the blockchain revolution? We will take a look at them because they outperformed crazy today. To NVDA, the semiconductors and some others. We want to understand where we are at and what do we do next to maintain our alpha. Before we do that, it's time for a update. I neglected you guys a little bit on Pioneer Reserve. So on the Pioneer Alpha official system where we track everything in real time, our portfolio. So here is, and we're professionalizing this more and more, as you can see here. It's looking pretty good. I will tell you more. You can go to pioneeralpha.org, by the way, to learn more about what's happening next year. We are institutionalizing Pioneer Alpha into a beautiful thing that I will come up with a video. I will tell you more in a minute. But let's look at the performance. Month to date, we are up 12.88% on the portfolio. That compares to Tesla 4.61% up. So we have an alpha over Tesla of 8.27%. And for the month, how does it look like? For the month, a little less because there was a big drop in between. We are up for 1 month 4.82%. Tesla is down actually. I will get to this in a second. Tesla is still down on the month, 1.68%. We have an alpha over Tesla of 6.5%. Year to date, we are actually up 1.62%. Very proud of that. Tesla is still down 13.52%. And we have an annual alpha of 15.14%. Now let that sink in a little bit. That is why I call it Pioneer Alpha. You know that Tesla is by far our largest core position. NVIDIA is now also significant, but probably net exposure, it's probably 15 to 20% of Tesla, so way smaller. And MicroStrategy is half of that, half of NVIDIA. So we are still very Tesla heavy. That is why Tesla is our benchmark. I believe 2026 and 2027 will be transformative years for Tesla. But in difficult times like the Q1, we predict this very clearly in December that Q1 is going to be tough. That's why we diversified a little bit more into safer bets like NVIDIA. And of course, MicroStrategy when Bitcoin bottomed, which was also pretty clear from our perspective. So that is how it looks like. Nice performance. I'm very proud of that, to be honest. Because it was not easy, as you remember. We had the Iran war, we had Q1 just being terrible for everyone, and we held up very nicely on a 6. And in these difficult times like Q1, to drop less, right? It's not about making money, it's about not losing as much money as the benchmarks, in our case Tesla. And we did this very nicely. So I'm very proud of that. Thanks all of you for following that. It helps me actually to explain my strategy every day, explain my thinking from geostrategy to macroeconomics and specifically then for our AI stocks. The reason why this is so important in bad times to lose less than the benchmarks is because in good times, you're then much better positioned to take the upside. And when you go 6 months back, for example, you see what I mean. Over time, our alpha is just accumulating very massively. 24% alpha over Tesla on a 6 months basis. And since inception, what's the latest here? 41% since inception. That was January 1st, 2024. So long term, we are also doing pretty well. This is not anticipating, by the way, today. We are definitely over 100% now today. This is yesterday's close. These numbers, we will update this over the weekend. All in all, pretty nice. I'm happy we survived Q1 very nicely and are now positioned beautifully for what is to come. So what is to come? Let's talk about this. when we go back and look at our favorite stock, Tesla, and use this as an anchor point, what is happening with Tesla? I said before, and I will repeat that, when you look at the big picture of Tesla, 6 months, we had the peak December, 24th, but the real peak was, I think, here, December 16th, nearly to the day as the peak last year in 2024. The peak was December 17th. I remember that day, Fed Talk. I know exactly where I was. I was in Austin in a on the Christmas shopping mall when I heard this stupid speech where I didn't react fast enough. That was December 17th, 2024. And last year, 2025, December 16th, we hit this 490 peak, all-time high. Since then, we are down a lot. And we have to let this sink in a little bit. We have to let it sink in. Tesla made tremendous progress. Tesla actually launched the Cybercab mass production as planned in time. It released 14.3, even though some people were disappointed, but still, it released it in time. We have now Cybercab ramping, and we have 14.3. Plus, sales are recovering very nicely across the world, including in Europe very strongly. So, the semi is coming up. And, of course, Robotaxi. No one knows when we hit that inflection point, but I told you guys, I think we can hit it now any day. It can take another 6 months, but it could also happen next week that we see unsupervised robotaxis. And that means for me, it's very simple what that means. It means for me, Tesla, now that we are super coiled spring run up ready for the markets, we are ready to go to 490 again, to all-time highs, without needing any catalyst for it. That's the interesting thing. I don't think we need any catalyst to go to 490. We just need a market that goes up. Tesla can easily run all the way to all-time highs without any catalyst. On top of that, we have a potential Cybercab robotaxi catalyst. And if that happens, we will experience a repricing all the way to 600, 700, 800, whatever it is, depending on how this scales. So we basically have a joker, a call option on the one side. If that happens, we are ready to run. But on the other side, we can just run to 490 without any reason, which makes it a perfect Goldilocks moment to go super bullish. Not investment advice. You guys know your risk and your margins and everything. But for me, for Pioneer Alpha, I'm all in. I'm all in since Monday. I'm adjusting. I'm in with short puts in the money short puts. Also through earnings, by the way. I will hold that through earnings because if it goes down, that's just a buying opportunity at this point. And it's probably not going to go down. So we get a nice premium. That is the situation on Tesla. So I'm very, very bullish. I said it on Monday. I said it on Herbert's show. All in right now. And very important. For beginners, you would think, oh, technically overbought, blah, blah, blah. No one cares. This is not about technically overbought. It's about we know where the all-time high is. We know it belongs there. We know the market is super bullish on a coiled spring. This is the time to not let loose. And going from 350 to 490 in 4 weeks or something is not a big feat for Tesla. It did way crazier things. And 490, look at this. 490, today we are up 16 points. So we are 4 days away from 490, 4 of these days. So that is how I see Tesla. What about our other key positions? When we look at NVDA, I'm less bullish on NVIDIA now compared to Tesla because NVIDIA had a crazy run. Look at this. NVIDIA literally is up 10%. We are talking NVIDIA on a 1 month level, but even on a 5-day level, 7% for the largest company on earth. So I was very bullish here. I think NVIDIA is in a perfect position and this stock can easily go to 250 or 300 long-term, mid-term, but it is much less of an aggressive play than Tesla. I'm not ready to reduce my position because we are still in a bullish market, but NVIDIA I think has the best run behind it, the most aggressive run, which was extremely aggressive. Look at this. I told everyone at 176 or something, this goes to 200 in no time, but it is at 200 now. So NVIDIA, I think, much less additional upside in the tactical short term than Tesla, but nice part of the portfolio, and it's a very safe bet because this thing is just absolutely killing it, leading the AI revolution like no one else. And then finally, our third largest position, MicroStrategy. Look at this. MicroStrategy today up an unbelievable 13.86%. Why is that? Of course, because of Bitcoin. Bitcoin also completely up like crazy. Bitcoin up at 74,000. Wasn't it 75,000? Yeah. Why is it? Something is wrong here. That is not the latest. Let me just check where Bitcoin is. BTC price. Sometimes this sucks, the Google situation. Let me think here where we see Bitcoin. Wow, that's crazy. Here it works, Google. $78,000, so up like crazy. And for Bitcoin, I called the bottom pretty nicely and acted accordingly with MicroStrategy. I also have a separate portfolio. That's why I'm a little less aggressive than I would be normally in this Pioneer Alpha portfolio. But here's the situation on crypto. When you look at crypto long term, we hit this high here of 122,000, 4th of October. Then we had this giant crash. It was a pretty serious crash where we went down 30% on Bitcoin and much more, 60% on Ethereum. And then here in February, is that February? Exactly. Here's where we hit 64,000 or something. I wasn't sure that it's bottom then, but then it bottomed out here and it was pretty clear for me, we are finding a bottom now. This cycle is much more compressed and we are going to the moon. Why is that? Because on the fundamental level, you see Bitcoin is exploding. All the fundamental metrics are exploding. Plus we have the money printer coming back. Plus the world is getting more and more unsafe and unsure. And Bitcoin is, of course, the central stone to that. We can tie everything because it's the digital currency. It's complete, perfect trust, mathematically encoded trust. And Ethereum, its little sister, is even stronger because you see Ethereum adoption going through the roof and our mega theme of AI changing finance. The entire world being tokenized, everything goes on the blockchain. And of course, there is no other option than Ethereum at scale for all of that. Bitcoin store of value, the new store of value replacing gold, or at least competing with gold, and Ethereum tokenizing the entire financial system of the world. And this is actually happening. That's why I'm bullish on both of them. I think they're bottomed and now we are going to the moon and they can go back to all-time highs and then go way past that. That's what I think. And could happen faster than people think. Now, I'm less sure on these things, always less sure than on Tesla or NVDA, because this is a tricky thing, crypto. But strategically, that's the outlook, and I'm pretty convinced that is what it is. So overall, for the next weeks, we have to see how everything goes. I'm very, very bullish. I'm highly exposed now to the market. I think the way I play Tesla, by the way, if you want to know tactics, the way I play Tesla is through short puts. I am not the biggest fan of calls. Calls are always extremely expensive, especially pre-earnings. So short puts are more elegant in times like that. So what I did, for example, today is I put on a significant position of 410 short puts April 20th. So always short expiration times. I had a ton of short puts at 400. More short puts at 490, 480. I had it all. And the way I do this, it's very labor intense. But rather than just selling, let's say 430 puts, right, where you basically get the entire upside if it goes to 430, but you get very little buffer to the downside. If you sell 410 puts right now, they cost you probably, they get you probably $8 or $7 or something, maybe 8. I think 8. So that's a pretty good deal, right? You're getting 410, 8. So you're breaking even. You're making money if Tesla stays above 402 by Monday. I think we'll do the opposite. It might go up more. So you get free money. If it hovers around here, you get also a lot of money. You always win unless it goes below 402. Why am I not worried about that? Because we are on this super run back to 490. If we see a drop back to 490 or to 390, I just buy more. I also have a bunch of 400s throughout earnings. They still pay you $10 or something for April 24th. So that's how you basically can take more risk, or I can take more risk right now. You do whatever you think is right. I can take more risk right now because I know we are up to the right. If there is some kind of, flashback, whatever you call it, and we are dropping a little bit, I don't even care. I can just double down. So because we are in such a bullish run, I'm taking a little bit more risk, and that paid off so far. Now, the downside of my strategy, by the way, is when you're at the money or just a little bit in the money with short puts, is that if you have that run from 380 to 390 to 400 to 410, you're burning through your strikes, which means you're losing a little bit on the upside leverage, right? For example, if I sell 410 short puts with expiring Monday and you get $8 for it, but Tesla goes up more than $8 to 420, you lost upside, right? You didn't really cash in enough. So you need to basically stagger this, stack that. And if you burn through it and you feel you have momentum, you just sell more to the higher upside and start closing them out or not. So that's how I stack these and don't lose out on the upside if we burn through my strike prices, which we did all the time now. But that requires you to really be on it. It's an all full-time job, but it works like a charm because I'm buying myself a lot of alpha. If we get a drop back, I have so much buffer that not much can happen to me, at least in these bullish periods. So that's kind of the perspective here I have. I'm preparing a video for Monday that will be very big. I will announce my commitment of $1 million to the Pioneer Alpha strategy, including a $200,000 bet. And the way this bet will work is that I'm betting on Pioneer Alpha making 30% a year for the next 3 years, every single year, 30% or more. And if it doesn't make 30%, I'm going to lose my money. Why am I going to lose my money, my 200,000? Because they go to the investors. I will be an investor too, by the way. But I won't get the whole money because I will only be a partial investor. So I will explain this more on Monday, but that is my bet. It's not something anyone else does because normally money managers just want to rip everyone off and make fees. Here we do the opposite for very specific reasons. And the reasons are that I believe we are entering the age of AGI. We have entered it. And one of the most important things we can do in Pioneer Lands is to establish a new income infrastructure, universal high income. You might have heard about it. But I have thought about this a lot, and I think there's only one solution to get it done. We need to convert all that stuff we are doing here, Pioneer Alpha, Tesla, NVDA, SpaceX coming up. Someone has to take all that crazy upside, create a strong strategy, how to capture it, which we did with Pioneer Alpha. Now enough evidence after 2 years, over 2 years. I'm confident we can do that, and I'm confident we can keep outperforming it. We will take that now in an institutionalized securitization vehicle in Luxembourg, make it accessible all over the world for qualified investors first, not retail. I'll explain this more on Monday, because many of you might be qualified. We'll see. And from there, what we do is not just a fund. This is not about a fund. This is about a new vehicle that tries to establish this universal high income. And what that means is we are taking volatility and risk out of the equation. Of course, not all volatility and all risk, but compared to a fund, we take dramatic volatility and risk out of the equation and aim at a 30% per year return that we generate from that portfolio with a new buffer mechanism. If we make more, it goes into the buffer. If we make less, we suck it from the buffer into the portfolio for investors. So in bad years, it will get filled out as much as we can to achieve a steady 30% yield stream. And to pre-fund that buffer, that is my commitment. And there's no tricking. If I don't perform at 30% a year, I will lose that money. And that, is just my bet on it. I will tell you more on Monday. It's going to be very interesting. There will be a short period where we close this first series of this Pioneer bond that will reflect this Pioneer Alpha strategy and has this buffer built in. You can follow it. Doesn't matter if you invest or not, but you can follow it on YouTube. I will cover this every day, of course, as I did so far, but now in an institutionalized instrument that if it works, if we can make this work, will probably be the biggest leap forward for finance as a financial instrument ever, because it can turn the upside, the volatility of this tremendous revolution we are witnessing into a stabilized yield stream. This is not a solicitation here for securities. It's not a promise or anything. It's our objective and mission for Pioneer Reserve and Pioneer Lands, what we need to achieve. And I'm betting my own money on it that we will. So I hope that was interesting and you enjoyed that. You have some ideas what Tesla might be doing from here on. And I hope to see you tomorrow and especially on Monday when we launch this video, $1 million committed to Pioneer Alpha, my own money and my big bet on that return. So enjoy the weekend and see you then.